There's no point you putting amphora down to catch the drips if you let the amphoras run over and make the floor wet anyway. You have to go and empty them and take an empty one with you. Do I have to think of everything? Just because it rains topside doesn't mean we have to flood down here. And you lot, keep going with those chanting to my father, Uncle Zeus. He's the one who's sending it. He can stop it before he drowns us all. Hello. Hello. It's a bit soggy down here. We've been having a bit of problems with the rain and the leaks. Not really happy about this. Anyway, you don't need to hear about that. We're here with a play! Yay! We are here with a new play, and I wasn't supposed to do this yet. But Her Ladyship no less, said she hadn't done her homework yet and hadn't got anywhere near having a book. And would I condescend to take her place? And I hummed and I heard and I thought, oh, and fine, and she begged and she pleaded, and then finally I said, it's all right. I will do the video. I will save you from your own poor decisions, and I will do the video for this week. Because I've been wanting to do this play for absolutely ages, so I'm happy I get an extra video. That's always fun. So, but before we get started with the fun stuff, remember there is a shop, blah, 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 with books, blah, 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 and other stuff, blah, 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 blah. And there's a Redbubble shop, blah, 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 blah. And like, subscribe, comment, and share, or I'll jump out from under the bed and scare you witless. All right, now we're done. Good. So, what is our play? Our play is a play by a man called Terence Rattigan. And it is probably his most famous play. And that is The Deep Blue Sea. Now, this is an interesting play. It comes from just after what you call World War II. It comes from then. So it's an English play. It's a very small cast, and it all takes place in one room or one setting. Everything comes to this setting. There is no alternate setting. So it's a bit like Beckett in that way, but in another way is completely not like Beckett. In fact, in most ways, it's not at all like Beckett. Our close personal friend, Mr. Samuel Beckett. Not at all like Mr. Samuel Beckett, but in terms of it all taking place on the one singular location, it's like Beckett. So, this play opens with Hester, who is our main character. Hester Collier has had a little bit of an accident, a little bit of a deliberate accident, with some sleeping pills and a gas heater. And we open the play with the neighbours bursting in because they've smelt gas, and opening a window and discovering Hester lying on the floor in front of the switched off heater because she didn't put a coin in for the meter. So she turned the gas on and it turned itself off almost immediately. One of the upstairs neighbours, Mr. Miller, is a doctor, or he's a bookie. He used to be a doctor. We learn over the course of the play. He used to be a doctor once, and now he's not a doctor because of something that happened that did involve a year in prison. So something serious happened that means he's no longer a doctor. But he helps Hester, he revives Hester after she's taken too many sleeping pills. She just got a bit confused with the counting. That's the official story, because they're still very backwards, and they seem to this would become like an issue that would be, legally prosecuted because they're barbarians. Just as they're barbarians about homosexuality at that point too, where you could get a prison sentence, which is what Terence Rattigan was. And Terence Rattigan actually wrote this play of this love triangle about a lover of his who did die, and how this all shook down. It's not exactly what this is, obviously, but you have a love triangle that involves three men, make one of them a woman, bingo, you can use it in a play and not get into trouble. He did that sort of thing a lot. A lot of playwrights did that. Anyway, so Hester has revived, and she feels terribly embarrassed about putting people out, and the neighbors are she is sort of, she's known by two names, Mrs. Price and Lady Collier. Lady Collier, she is actually still married. She's been living with Freddie Price, and she calls herself Mrs. Price, and they've been living in this sort of down market flat in an old converted big building. So she has been living in sin, whatever that means, with another man. Well, her husband, Sir William Collier, the High Court judge, is her legal husband. So anyway, the neighbours call Sir William, and he comes and sees her and speaks to Mr. Miller, Dr. Miller, Mr. Miller, as he now is, about, we're going to keep this quiet, aren't we? Yes. And we become aware that this estrangement has been going for some time. She has been away from her husband with her lover for nearly a year. But we also see that William Collier is still in love with his wife and still cares about her. He rushes over. He's held up everything that he would have been doing this morning. He's going to be in late because when he hears what has happened, that Hester's in trouble, he rushes over to see her. So there is still, and she doesn't treat this as any great imposition. She's more embarrassed that she has caused this upset to him. Freddie has been away golfing for the weekend, and he forgot her birthday. He is a former RAF fighter pilot and a test pilot, but he's had an accident in Canada, and he has sort of lost his nerve about that. He's unemployed. He really doesn't have any focus. He is very charming and very lovely, but he's he's also much younger than Hester. He's got to be at least 10, 15 years younger than Hester. So he's in his late 20s or about 30, and she is in her 40s. So it's also, that's the other thing about this. This is a great role for or women actors when really great roles start drying up at that age, which is deeply unfair, but it's sort of unfortunately what happens. If you look at all the plays we've looked at, there aren't that great many roles for women in middle of their career. They all sort of flitter away. So Hester is this magnificent role. Not that the Milwaukee family players could appreciate that. No, they could not appreciate a sophisticated adult experience in the theatre. Not a chance. They're just not really capable of it. It was a real disappointment, because I think that this could be a really, really great play with some great actresses, but the Milwaukee family players don't really give a lot of space to the ladies in their company. No, not really. And the ladies in their company are not very good at putting themselves forward. They're very good at being horrible, nasty, vicious creatures, but for some reason they're just not very good at developing depth. I think in order to play a role like Hester, they need some self-reflection. Reflecting's not something that they do. They have less reflection than a vampire. So it was a bit difficult with them. But anyway, this is a play without a huge amount of plot. So it really, once you meet all the characters, it's sort of, it's not really plot heavy, it's character development heavy. So we meet Freddie, and Freddie is very very charming, very lovely. He's younger than Hess. He has he finds her intensity a bit overwhelming, and then he finds the letter that she left. And so she has been pretending, oh, no, everything's fine. She doesn't want him to know what she did or tried to do. And then he finds the letter, and then that really throws him. That really, really throws him. Hester, throughout this whole play, is... what we find out about her is that she is a woman who has never really been on her own. She is a vicar's daughter. She married the first man who proposed to her. She had been interested in art as a young woman, but now is now attempting to paint in some way to try and make money to support them, because heaven knows Freddie can't. Freddie can drink and play golf and gamble, but he can't really focus and settle. But she's a woman who has been either with her father, her husband, or Freddie. And what it appears has prompted her accident with the pills and the gas is the fear of Freddie leaving her, because they do have this turbulent relationship, and she needs things that she can see Freddie can't give, but she can't give Freddie up. She loves Freddie. She really does love Freddie. I think she also loves her husband. She's a very intense person, but she never has... She never feels the kind of love that she can give them. She never feels that back, and she never feels that she gets that. Freddie is pretty upset about the notes. When he comes back, he's drinking. He's brought Jackie. Yes, he brings Jackie the second time. And he actually talks to Jackie with Hester not on the stage, and he talks to Jackie about this is not really fair. What have I done to inspire this? And apparently this isn't the first woman who he has inspired to little accidents. Not that the other woman actually went through with, but he is a man incapable of giving what these women need. But he's also a man who's still running from himself. He is a man who says that the best time in his life was during the Battle of Britain, when he was 18 and flying a fighters and shooting down Nazis. He is a man who has been trying to live on that edge always. And so maybe, running off with the wife of a high court judge is a thrill. But then living with her need as an actual person rather than an idea is quite overwhelming for him. And he has a opportunity to go and be a test pilot again in South America. And he's sort of, seriously thinking of doing this, especially after what has just happened. Hester is desperate for Freddie not to go. She also sees her husband, Sir William, or Bill, and Bill would take her back, even though how humiliating for him, this respectable High Court judge, Sir William Collier, to have his wife run off with a fighter pilot. He'd have her back today. He'd take her home right now. He's got his car's parked outside. He would grab whatever you want to take and come. And she says no. She can't go back to that. The other person that she also talks to is Miller. It's Miller who helps her actually get through the sort of muddle, the muddled emotions that what has happened, and then the concern of both of these men, the very different concern, brings up. Freddie is concerned, but his concern leads him to want to flee because it's too much for him. He wants to be, good old Freddie, not someone who someone has to rely on or feel responsible for someone. And Bill is very solid and stable, but you can't turn back what you have had. And so Miller, because Miller initially gives her some more sleeping pills when she asks for them, and then he thinks better of it and knocks on her door and demands them back, because she has been, you can see just before he knocks on the door, she has already started to prepare maybe to do this again, to have another little accident because of the row with Freddie. And Miller actually comes in and demands the sleeping pills back, and he talks to her. This is in the third act of the play. She talks to him about, how do you go on, and what am I supposed to do? And he is clearly a man who has seen a lot in the world. They all are people who've seen a lot. They've been through the war. And Hester probably less than Freddie, and even even her husband has seen less than definitely Freddie, and probably Miller, because their power and their position has insulated them from the worst of the war. The war is more inconvenient to them than it is to the ordinary people. And Miller talks about, or she talks to Miller about what do you do? And it becomes clear that Hester is constantly looking outside for the people to give her love. That she's never had enough sense of herself, of who she is, of what she wants, of her own identity, to give herself that what she wants, what she's looking for these external people to validate. And all this takes place over one single day. So we don't get a final, oh, well, this is what I'm going to do. What we get is an understanding that she'll go on. She will go on. She will take what has happened. Take everything, salvage everything that is left out of the ruins. Out of the ruins of her marriage, out of the ruins of her relationship with Freddie, because Freddie is now leaving for South America. Out of the ruins of a life and a position that has always been dictated externally, where you get married, you live this life. There's no talk of Hester and Sir William having any children. So although she has had this marriage, there is no motherhood in that. And she hasn't got a career. She has no idea who she is, because she's only ever seen herself as a reflection in the men in her life. She comes from a class and a time where she wasn't expected to have a career. So she was never, trained in that. She never learnt that. Yes, she is educated, but the education is more of an ornament than an actual usable, tangible thing. She is now forced to think in the middle of her life, who actually is she? And it really is one of the most fantastically complex, mature plays. I think out of all the things that we've done so far, this is probably the most, it's apart from Summer of the 17th Doll, which really does touch on similar sorts of things, except that one is more about aging and how aging affects identity, whereas this one is more about identity in terms of building that for oneself. But other than Summer of the 17th Doll, this is the most realist play that we've done. I mean, Samuel Beckett is really abstract. Bertolt Brecht is really abstract. The other plays that we've looked at, Amadeus or She Stoops to Conquer, there are language qualities to those. There are just, the fact that, Amadeus is like Amadeus, he's Mozart. They're famous people. This is one of the few plays that is about ordinary people in ordinary lives. I mean, okay, so a High Court judge is not an ordinary person, but ordinary people, just people, not famous people, not kings or princes, ordinary people with dialogue that feels like, yes, people talk like that. People actually speak like that. They don't, it's not high language. It's not language that is designed to provoke a laugh or confusion. It is real people struggling through a really complex, knotty emotional situation. And so it's quite unusual in regards to that. Most plays, there is a certain heightened reality to them. This one, not so much. It's not quite at the angry young men point in English theatre. It's just before that, but it's very very different from like the mannered sort of farces. And I think the positioning of this play, being from the early 1950s, being from 1952, it's very much as this is a play about passion and love and relationships, it's also a play about that post-war lives, the people who lived through the war, not the people who came after the war, not the people who were children, so much as the adults who lived through the war, the adults who went through this huge, terrible, violent thing, this earth-shattering event, who lost people. And the wanting the world to be normal again, and discovering, oh, the victory, the victory of the war has changed the world completely. And I think that's why Hester doesn't return with Bill. Bill and her marriage represents that world before the war, as much as it represents the world before her grand passion and a marriage that was stifling for her anyway. It also represents that world before the war, and that after the war, after the intensity of this affair with Freddie, you can't go backwards. You have to find some way of moving forwards. And moving forwards is not necessarily comfortable or easy or even has the purpose that you thought that you had before. The purpose that you had in life before the war, the purpose in life of Bill, and being a society wife and being the good wife of a high court judge, a life of ease, of comfort. After this passionate disruption, which is Freddie, if you think of Freddie as being the war, and Freddie is as much a victim of the war, but he's the fighter pilot, he was actively engaged in the war. He is a broken man from his war experiences, and he is trying to struggle on just like everybody else. There are no villains in this play. Bill isn't a villain, Freddie isn't a villain, Hester isn't a villain. There are no villains. There are just people trying to put their lives back together. And if Freddie's the war, Freddie is this thing that broke into Hester's life and disrupted it and was huge and made her feel, but also gave her a purpose while it lasted. The war did give people focus. People, as much as it had all the violence, all the loss, it did give people a focus and a purpose. People put their energy behind the war effort. And so for a while, Hester focuses all of her pent-up energy into Freddie. now it's soured. Freddie is inconsiderate. Freddie forgets things. Freddie forgets her birthday. Freddie is not something that you can have long term. Nobody wants to live in a war situation long term, even for as much as it may have provided that focus to people who were focusless. You can't live with Freddie all the time. The intensity is too much. It will burn you up. It's burning him up. Freddie already had a bad accident in Canada, and now he's heading off to South America to do the same sort of work, the test pilot work. And I don't think Freddie is going to be living a very long life. Why? Because Freddie is trying to keep living on the edge, and the edge is a really dangerous place to live. People who live on the edge don't live to old age. And so in the wreckage of this relationship, as the dust settles and you realize I can't stay here, is the position of the post-war period, the late 1940s and the 50s, where people are having to go, well, what did we just go through? Are we all here? Did we survive? We can't go back to what we were. Where are we now? And that's the position Hester ends up in. Where am I now? As I dust myself off from the wreckage of what I've been through, this intense 10 months with Freddie, where and who am I now? And she's already been asking herself that question, because that's what led her to her little accident. If she hadn't been thinking about that, if she hadn't been sort of thinking, well, who am I now? She would never have, lost count of how many sleeping pills she'd been taking. So she's at this point where it's like, well, who am I? And the fact that she doesn't know who she is the thing that terrifies her. The fact that she can't answer that question at the moment is the thing that drove her to this act. It's not Freddie's fault. Poor Freddie. Like, you actually feel sorry for Freddie. Not when the Milwaukee family players do it, but you can see that Freddie is not, it's not his fault that he can't give her what she needs. It's not his fault. He's not a bad person. He's a damaged person. He's a reckless person. He is running just as she is running, but he is running from a past that he doesn't even let us see it, because he is running so far and so fast and so hard that he never turns back to look at it. He just knows that it's behind him and he has to keep moving forward, because it's going to engulf him, because maybe being a hero of the Battle of Britain comes with a huge serving of guilt that he does not want to deal with. He drinks heavily, which is how the accident happened. But he is somebody lauded as a hero, but at the same time, he seems to be having a great difficulty with living as a hero. He seems to be living life as though perhaps it's easier to be a dead hero. So we don't know exactly what he is dealing with. Is it survivor guilt of losing friends, losing other people around him? Is it guilt over having to kill other people? We don't know. But what we do know is this is affecting him badly. And Freddie is not a villain. Freddie is another unfortunate person stuck in it trying to work this out. Freddie's not going to have a long life. You can see that. Hester, however, she could, but she has to learn who Hester is. We don't even know Hester's maiden name. She's Lady Collier. She is Mrs. Page. But we don't actually know who she is. She needs to relearn who she is. She's not someone who even remembers that girl who was painting when she was very young. She doesn't remember who she is, but that is the person who she needs to love her. That is the person she needs to love. No one outside of her is going to love that person. So it's such an interesting play. It's incredibly mature, emotionally mature. It's not a play that you go into and think, oh, this person's bad, this person's wrong. You actually need to go into it with emotional maturity as an audience, which I can tell you not many people down here have. And our players, well, don't even get me started. Oh, took so long to get them into, playing this properly. Not playing it like pantomime. Anyway, that was our problem down here. Don't try to do very realist stuff with the Milwaukee family players. It's not exactly their forte. Unfortunately, it's all I've got. I'll have to wait till I go topside to see a really good one. Maybe I can get one upstairs when I go and see Father Uncle Zeus about all this rain. Perhaps. Anyway, I hear Kate McCrory's up there now. I hear she was really good. But anyway, I will be back. I will be back with another play. I get an extra play because I did an extra job. I did an extra job. They begged me. So I get an extra play, and I am going to do a play with one of my favourites in. A play by George Bernard Shaw. No, not the Pygmalion. Not that one. Don't like that one. I don't care if you like My Fair Lady. I don't like that one. We are going to do Caesar and Cleopatra. So the next time I see you, we will be doing George Bernard Shaw's Caesar and Cleopatra. Until then, bye-bye. If you would like to support this channel, come across to the Black Cockie Press website, www.blackcockiepress.com.au, where you will find books and other writing services to help with your writing.